Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your Knaus. It's a van TI, based on the 2008 Fiat Ducato. It's a 130 brake horsepower multi-jet. So, under the bonnet on the left hand side here, we've got your washer fluid at the top, power steering fluid and engine coolant. Next door to that, you then got your brake fluid attached to the servo just down the back, all looking nice and clean. No sort of corrosion anywhere and all that sort of stuff, which is good. Engine oil goes in through this cap just here, and your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just below that. Then got your paint code, which is 611, which is this nice sort of silvery colour. Air conditioning information is just here. You've got two chassis plates here, which you might notice, but the one that you actually want to go off is this one just here. This is the one that gives you the more accurate weights, basically. Over on the right hand side, we've got your air filter inside this box just here. And because on this particular age of chassis, the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab, just in front of the passenger seat, you've got a positive terminal just underneath this little cover here, and a negative or an earthing terminal just here at the front, which it does say there, only for jump start. So if you wanted to jump start the vehicle, you can do so from under the bonnet. If you did need to get to the engine battery, as I mentioned, it's just under the floor here in front of the passenger seat, nice and easy to get to. So that's where that is. The bonnet release handle is just here inside the passenger door, and your diesel filling point is also just there behind the passenger door, all nicely on this near side. The blinds in the cab, same all the way around in the cab. This isn't a cheap thing to have put on, so it's really nice that it's already there for you. Blinds come across nice and easily like that, and literally just go onto a little magnetic strip just here. There's one on here as well, obviously. And that's it. That is, it's as simple as that, all the way around. And there you go. Haven't been used for a little while, which is why they're sort of stuck together. But put them back like that. Job's a good one. So, the reversing camera, spare bits and pieces and a little bit of paperwork for it is in there. And you can see they're nicely fitted, nice and neat up there. Also on this near side, underneath the vehicle, you will see your waste drain off handle. So that's what that is just there. Freshwater filling point is this one here. I don't speak German, but I know that says freshwater. It's about all I know from these motorhomes. So freshwater inlet point is just underneath that little cover there. So you can quite securely close that over. Next door to that, we've got your Thetford toilet cassette locker. So you've got a freshwater flush on this particular system, which means that you will need a little bit of fresh water in the fresh tank in order to flush the toilet. Something that I tend to point out. So to take the actual cassette out, lift up on the yellow tab and pull the cassette towards you. That will then allow you to take the entire thing in and out. Once you've got it out, all there is to know really is that you need to keep on top of lubricating this rubber seal here with some kind of a silicone lubricant, and that when you're emptying it out from this point just here, once you turn it around obviously, you need to hold down the little yellow button there to help you empty it out basically. So push that all the way back in there, and there you go. This next little bit at the back here that says Truma on it, that's the vent for your boiler. So anytime that you've got the boiler lit up on gas or using the boiler at all, you should be able to feel warm air coming out underneath of this. And that's it really. You don't have to do anything with this, you just leave it alone, and just careful with your hand on it if you have been using the boiler for a while. Nothing to show you at the back, if I'm honest, apart from the nice camera just there, proper park safe kit. Alright, so the garage on this is absolutely massive, but also quite important to run you through, as there are quite a few bits and pieces in here that I need you to know about. So probably first things first, gas locker just here as soon as you walk in. You have got the twin Gaslow refillable bottles. So having the Gaslow bottles is a real plus because it's a lot cheaper to get hold of the refillable gas than it is the bottled. So yeah, so all you need to know really, you've got a auto changeover just here. Anytime that the auto changeover is showing you green in here, it means that there's gas running through it and into the van. If you can't get any gas to come into the van, but it is showing green here, there's a little green button. I don't know if you can see this on the video, sorry for all the movement. There's a little green button on the bottom of the regulator here. Press and hold on that for 3 seconds and that'll allow the gas to start running in. It does tell you that just here, but I just thought I'd show you. It's basically a crash sensor is what it is. So turning the bottles on, you go anti-clockwise around to the left. That turns the bottles on. When you are using these, it's just easier to just basically turn them both on together at the same time. Because you've got that changeover valve in the middle there, it'll just basically switch between the two when one's empty and when it needs to. The filling point for the Gaslow system is just here, and it's basically just a bayonet fitting inside there. And you have also got the relevant adapters in here for going abroad so that you can fill up wherever you are. So I'm going to leave the gas on for a minute. You do need to make sure that you turn the gas off before you start driving the vehicle, but for the time being I'm going to leave that on. I'm just going to jump in now. So to give you an idea of how big the garage is, I mean, I'm actually inside of it right now, I'm just sort of kneeling down. It's absolutely huge. So you've got twin leisure batteries, so both matching as well, which is always really good. It does annoy me when I see people going around with, you know, twin leisure batteries, but they're both different. It's not good for the system to do that. So anyway, so you've got the twin leisure batteries there. As I said, I mean, they're 75 amp hours each, so that's a good, you know, good system to have there, especially for a smaller van like this one. So plenty of power coming from those. That's the leisure batteries, and then the boiler itself sits inside this little cupboard here. So the only thing I need to sort of show you, if I just get these chocks out of the way, the only thing I'm going to show you, you don't need to know about this in here. This is just basically getting to the gas fitting and stuff like that, getting to the motor and all that. But like I say, you don't need to know about that really. The only thing I will show you is this little piece just here. So if it starts to get really cold outside, you might find that the boiler will drop all of its water out automatically. If that does happen, it will then mean that you won't be able to fill the boiler back up until you come in here and lift, basically pull on this, and that'll allow it to close the valve off again, basically. So if you find that every time you come to filling up the boiler, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, if you find that when you come to doing that, it just drains all the water out onto the floor, you just need to come in here and pull this little lever up, and that will then allow you to fill the boiler up. But that's all it is really, nothing sort of too technical or anything. It's just, you know, it's basically a safety feature of the boiler to do that for you. You might be able to get to it from in here, possibly. Yeah, so that's the actual, that's it there. The drain off valve, that is the drain off valve there. But because it's a little bit awkward to get to, they tend to fit these little things here so that you can do it by hand outside of the locker. So, just jumping out of there. So carrying on this offside, driver's side, hookup point is this one just here. So putting the hookup cable in basically means that you'll then be able to use any sort of 3-pin sockets that might be in the van. It also means that you'll be able to use your appliances on the mains power, which without a hookup cable in you will not be able to do. So the fridge you can use on gas or electric, the boiler you can use on gas and electric. So, you know, if you're at a campsite with a hookup available, always really well advised to plug one of those in as often as you can. Not only for the appliances, but mainly because, you know, you've got a battery charger as well. So those leisure batteries in the back end, you know, every time you put the hookup in, they're going to be getting a good charge up. These two vents just here at the front are the fridge vents. If you have the fridge lit up on gas, you'd be able to feel warm air coming out through this top right hand side of this vent. A little bit more difficult to actually feel in the summer, obviously, because it's, you know, hot outside, but that's obviously self-explanatory. But you know, it's just basically another way of just double checking that it's definitely working, if you were wondering. Inside the cab, so pretty high spec in the cab. You have got the air conditioning switch just there in the middle, which I don't know if I mentioned before, but they, you know, they don't just come with that as standard, so that would have been an optional extra. You've also got the optional 6-speed manual gearbox as opposed to the 5. Automatic, well, not automatic, sorry, electronic adjusting mirrors, so you can select which mirror you want to move by moving this around, and then just basically move it around like a little joystick to move the mirror. So yeah, the reversing camera up there, that will only come on with the ignition, so that you can't, you know, drain the battery out with it, basically. And I also think that little switch down there should be an isolator for this stereo there as well. So again, quite often you'll find little switches in the cabs, mainly due to the fact that, you know, with a motorhome, the last thing you want is for, I mean, you don't ever want a battery to drain out anyway, really, but people just tend to fit the little isolator switches so that you can completely isolate it, so there's no battery drains and things. So that's about it really for the cab, if I'm honest. Both front seats swivel, so if you push down on this, same on this side, the seat will swivel round. So I'll just swivel it around myself. There you go. So like I said, both of those front seats will swivel round, then giving you this sort of area here with the table. The bottom part of the table will also swing out, and if you wanted to make a small bed at the front just here, the table will drop down from the top rail to the bottom rail, and half of the table leg comes off, so it makes essentially like a, you know, a small sort of double bed, single bed if you like, using this seat swiveled round as well. So what I'm going to do is, tell you what, I'll leave the door open. So you've got this big blind or fly screen across the habitation door, so that you can have the door wide open with the fly screen across, which in my opinion is a really, really nice thing. Blinds and fly screens. So the blinds and fly screens around the van are all pretty much the same. So really simple. You've got a blackout blind at the front and fly screens at the back. So the only things to point out about these, you'll get the hang of it straight away, but when you pull these down, to actually get them to stop, you need to push down and then push forwards. That basically hooks into some little hooks and allows it to stop where it is. The reverse to take it away, so you can't just pull this back up, pull towards you and then it will go up. Same for the blackouts. It just takes a little bit of getting used to sometimes. So you have also got the, if I get that out of the way, go the other way with that one. Sorry, I don't know where the camera even was just then when I was doing that. So you've got the drop down TV just here as well, which I'll just leave there for a minute. I'll put that back up after the video. So that's why this cupboard here isn't much of a cupboard. I mean, you could probably put a few things in here behind this little net here, but that's why that is. TV aerial is in the cupboard next door to that, so it's a standard tilt and turn TV aerial, which you will need to turn the booster on for if you want to use the TV and get a proper signal. But there you go. Right, so that's TV stuff. So as soon as you walk through this habitation door, you've got on your left hand side, as soon as you walk in, you've got this nice Knaus branded control panel. So essentially what we've got going on, it's very, very simple. You've got a main on and off switch just here on the right, which has got a green light above it, which means it's working. You've then got the water pump switch, which has also got a green light on it, which means that there's power going to the pump. And then you've got your light switches. So that's just that one there. First thing I'm going to run you through is the pump. So this particular van has got what's called a submersible pump, which means that the pump actually physically sits inside the freshwater tank, which is underneath this seat. So what that means is that submersible pumps, basically the way they work is that you turn the power on to them on the control panel. Nothing will happen when you turn that power switch on, because unless a tap is actually in the open position. Unlike a lot of other inline pumps, these pumps here have basically got a switch. Each tap has got a little, what they call a micro switch inside of it. And so unless a tap is physically open and that micro switch is switched on by you opening the tap, the pump will not run. All right, so that's why when you turn the pump switch on, the pump won't run, you know, just by turning the switch on there. Once you've turned the switch on, you will then obviously be able to use the taps. But something that's really important to run through before going into any of the sort of boilery stuff and all that sort of thing, it's really important that you double check that the boiler is actually full of water before trying to light it up on the gas and all that sort of stuff. So to do that, it's so easy. All you have to do is two things. Make sure that you've got water in your fresh tank. So the fresh water gauge is this button just here, bottom left. Press on that and you can see there we're nearly full on the fresh tank. Okay, so you've done that, you've turned your water pump switch on. Now all you have to do is just come to the tap, pull the cold water through. So a little bit of air there, just getting rid of that. And then over to the hot. Same again, just a little bit of air coming through. And there you go. So doing that has just proven to me that there's water in the boiler and we can light it up and we can get hot water going. So if I just quickly explain that, the reason that that works and the reason that you have to do that is because when you draw the cold water through, essentially all you're doing is just sucking water straight from the tank to the tap. But when you draw the hot water through, you suck the water from the tank through the boiler and then to the tap. So if the boiler's not got any water in it, you're not going to get any water at this tap. All right, so the fact that water came through just then on both hot and cold means that the whole system's pressurized and you're good to go with the boiler stuff. All right, so that's really important. Just make sure that you do that before trying to light the boiler up. Save you having to fork out for a new boiler, because if you turn the boiler on with no water inside of it, you're going to run into some serious problems. The bottom right button just here, if you look at this scale again, is our wastewater level. Empty. Perfect. Battery 1, if you look at the right hand scale, full power in battery 1, so that's going to be usually the leisure battery, and then battery 2 will be the engine. It could be either way, to be honest, but basically if you want to just check your battery voltages, press on that one. Now I wouldn't be surprised, I haven't seen it in a cupboard actually, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a solar panel in here, wherever that might be. If I can get this cupboard to open up. There we go. No, not in there. Well, I could be making that up completely, but the voltage that you've got there in that in the batteries is very good, so I'd be surprised if there isn't. Probably should have checked this before I did the video, but that's the way it goes. Ah, there you go. So your solar controller is up there. It's only connected up to the leisure batteries, but yeah, the voltage in those batteries is fantastic. So great power coming down from the solar panel. That's obviously working really well. Okay, I feel like I'm just going off on lots of tangents, but I'm not. Okay, so basically that's it. This little light just here, if I'm completely honest with you, I'm not sure why it's on. It might be because you've got twin leisure batteries, but this normally means that the engine's running and the leisure battery is being charged up. Saying that, thinking about it, it's probably because, like I said, you've got the twin leisure batteries and you've got the solar panel pumping power into it. That's why it thinks that the engine's running. So just, if I'm honest with you, just try and ignore this little light here. The one below it will only come on when you plug the electric hookup in, and that means that the battery charger is working. All right. So that is that. And by the way, that's nothing to worry about. I'm not trying to, you know, it's just that that would basically, that light would normally come on when you start the engine and the split relay starts working. That's what that battery to battery symbol means, but it's obviously because you've got twin leisure batteries. So that's the control panel. Below the control panel, we've got the two dials, which are both to do with your boiler. So the boiler on this particular one is a Truma Combi. It's a Combi E because you've got the option of gas or electric or both. The Combis, basically, they do hot water and heating or both at the same time. So essentially all you got to do is, if we just forget about this one for now, telling the boiler what to do is from this top one here, the one that just says Combi. So if we want hot water only, but we don't want any heating, so on a day like today, we certainly don't want any heating, but we still might want hot water for a shower or whatever, we would then go up 1 for 40 degrees or up 2 for 60 degrees. And that's the hot water. All right. So at the moment, the boiler will now light up and just start producing hot water. We've already made sure there's water inside of it, so that's fine. Turning it off is back to the middle. If you wanted heating only, so no hot water, but heating only, you go down 1 to the heating only symbol. Down 2 is heating and hot water at the same time. Okay, so that's how you actually tell the boiler what you want it to do. The dial below that is essentially, has absolutely no regard to what the boiler does, but it tells the boiler what energy to use, whether that be gas, mains, power, you know, the hookup, or both. So at the moment, if I just get down a little bit comfier, at the moment we're on gas only on that one. So whatever we tell the boiler to do up here, it's going to do it on gas only. If I went down 1 or down 2 here, we'd be on gas and electric 1 and gas and electric 2. So basically you'd be using gas and electric at the same time, either at 4 amps of power or 8. We go back, I'll explain that in a little bit more detail in a sec. Back up to the middle, that's gas again. Up 1 is electric only at 4 amps, and up 2 is electric only at 8 amps. So for example, if I left this one down here all the way at the top on electric only, and then went all the way down to the bottom on the top one, it will give us a little red symbol probably because the hookup's not plugged in. But basically at the moment we've got the boiler doing heating and hot water on electric only. Now most of the time, so generally speaking, people will leave this bottom one here on gas. It's better for the boiler because it gets rid of any sort of cobwebs, stops any kind of debris being able to be built up inside the boiler if you use it on the gas more often. But that's just the way people generally use it. If you're on a campsite and you want to use your electric hookup for everything, it's also fine, but I will just run you through a few things about that in a minute. So that's your boiler controls. So what I was just gonna, I'm not trying to bore you to death with this, but with the 240 volt, the electric hookup, if you're on a campsite, your pole that you're plugged into, the electric hookup pole that you're plugged into, will have a certain rating, and that rating will be in amps. So essentially, however many amps that pole that you've got plugged into will allow you to have, will be, say, it'll either be 10, 13, 16, something along those lines. You need to make sure that you know that number. So if you're plugged into a 13 amp pole and you select 2 electric on your boiler there, you're going to be drawing 8 amps straight away. So you can basically just think of the, you know, once you're drawing 8 amps, you can take that away from the number of amps that you've got, that you're plugged into. So again, say if you're plugged into a 13 amp pole and you turn it on 2 electric, you'll have 5 amps left to play with. So, and the only reason I ever mention that is because if you think a kettle or something like that, or a microwave, will probably draw like, you know, 7 or 8 amps or something at any time. So you're going to overload it and trip the switch outside. Okay, so it's just something to think about. You know, you just got to keep your eye on basically how many amps you're using at any one time. But I wouldn't, you know, don't stress over it. But if you're going to have things like a kettle and a microwave, like I said, they're the things that will draw super power and might end up tripping your pole outside. that's that. Done talking about that. So in the lower locker down here, we've got a couple of gas isolators. So the top one's the 3-burner hob at the top, and the bottom one is the fridge. We'll close that cupboard over and open this one, which is a nice curved cutlery drawer. And the one to the left of it is the fridge. So you've got a Dometic 3-way fridge here, so it works 3 different ways. You've got, if I just jump down here. So it works on gas, which is the top one here, mains electric, or 12 volt. So essentially the way that you have to use these fridges is that you either have to get the fridge cold first via the gas or the mains electric, and then the 12 volt is basically just for when your engine's running. Okay, so at the moment, if I go down to 12 volt, absolutely nothing is happening. It will not work. So it only physically works when your engine's running, and it's only to hold the temperature that you've already put into the fridge. If you've got an electric hookup plugged into the van, just literally select mains electric just there. Again, I don't have a mains plugged in at the moment, so it's not going to do anything. So at the moment, the only way I can use the fridge is the gas. So select gas, the ignition comes straight on, and it should light straight up. There you go. So as long as that ignition turns itself off and you've got a solid amber light in there, that's telling us that the fridge is lit up on gas, and then you've got your temperature gauge over here. So that's how you light it up on the gas. The other two are really, really simple. But yeah, so for example, if you were going to go on holiday tomorrow morning, I would advise you, ideally, hook the van up on the mains. That'll give the batteries a good charge up before you leave, and also allows you to use the 240 volt hookup symbol here on the fridge. If you can't do that, just do what I've just done there, light it up on gas, put all your stuff in it, and then by the morning, all you have to do is go down to the bottom, select 12 volt and drive off. When you get to where you're going, select one of the other two again, and that's it. So the fridge will take a good couple of hours to actually get completely cold, just bear that in mind. But yeah, that's it really, nice and simple. 3-burner hob at the top, you will need an ignition or like a lighter or something to light any 3 of these up, because there isn't an ignition on them specifically. A lot of them just aren't made with them. But I don't tend to run through these very much because they're just, they are what they are. They're just like any household cooker. Okay, so you've got the 2 forward-facing proper over-the-shoulder seat belts there, which will be chassis mounted, which is good. And then we've got your nice clever bathroom. It's a compact bathroom, but it's a compact van at the end of the day. So, but it's it's clever how it works. So the toilet itself is very, very simple. It will swivel round. To actually use it, you've got the flush button just here. So that will pump around your flush fluid into the bowl, and then pull on this handle here, drains whatever's in that bowl there into the cassette, and then push it back. That's how you use the toilet, so that's nice and easy. You've then got the shower, which basically pulls out from here if you're nice and gentle with it. Pulls out from there, and you got a couple of ways to do it. So release this little point just here, and that will then open up this entire thing. And that there is kind of, you put the shower point up into here, but that's your 2 ways of having it. You can have it down, push this back in and use it as the sink, or you can have it up over here and use it as your shower. When you're done with it, you can obviously pull this back again if you want more space in here, or leave it as it is like this, giving you a nice sort of sink area. Loads of storage next door to this as well in this cupboard here. And that's it really for the bathroom. Nice and easy. This does come across as well, just like that. You've got a bit of storage under these little seats just here. That's your boiler gas tap there. Steps is what I meant to say, not seats. not much to show in here apart from your trip switches down there and the TV. Well, you've got a satellite there by the looks of it on the roof, which you can use if you would like to. We don't tend to, you know, we don't give sort of warranties on aftermarket fitted appliances, but all that stuff, you know, like the TV as well, it's all there. You know, if you want to use it, I'm sure it all works. So just give it all a good go, and I'm sure you'll find it's fine. Another TV bracket at the back just here with the relevant power sources, and like I said, you've got your solar controller up in this cupboard. Nice skylight above your head at the back here, and all your paperwork. So there you go. So I think I've pretty much covered everything I can. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.